There are so many interesting, horrifying, or downright weird things in this big world of ours.
Each week, we'll bring you a new true crime story that has little to no coverage in English.
Let us do the translations so you don't have to. I'm Laura.
I'm Petra.
And I'm Victoria. Welcome to our podcast, Translation Murder. And Merry Christmas. This is our Christmas episode. Before we start today's story, we have a little update about one of our previous episodes, right, Laura?
Yeah. So the murder in Lindenfels, the one that I'd covered about Jutta Hoffman's murder. So there was an official kind of like update from October 24th of 2023. And that basically the murder trial against a 62-year-old who was most likely the suspect that I discussed in the episode, that the case actually begins on Wednesday, November 15th of 2023 in the regional court in Darmstadt. And yeah, so basically as of November, there should be a case, in like a trial underway for the suspect who is now 62 years old. And that's kind of what we know. So I will also update if anything. And I think they said that maybe January, possibly if everything goes well, could be maybe a verdict or something. But yeah, it seems like it's indeed that guy who was in the mental asylum. And yeah. So
That's pretty quick if it's expected for January already.
yeah. So
I mean, not taking into account that, of course, the case happened a
yeah.
long time ago.
But I think that they were building the case for quite a while. So I mean, even last March, there were some, like I mentioned, that there were some rumblings about maybe it was this guy because of the Achtenzeichen Ungelost episode. So
And maybe our podcast episode was the last straw to start the
no,
court.
yeah. If
Sure.
only, but yeah, to an English speaking podcast, speaking of a German case that isn't very widely covered, I would say, that has, I think, as of now, like 2 listeners to the episode. I think it would be very, very unlikely.
I don't know how
But
accurate those statistics are, by the way, because I think there were some times when I saw that there was, I don't know, like some country is represented, and then someone else told me that, oh, I listened to the episode and they were from like another place. So I was like, so is this not counted, or is it not like updating, or I don't know.
but I don't know how many listeners we have, but I would say probably not a major portion. But yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what I have to update. So hopefully they'll get him, and not that it, at least maybe it'll bring some closure to her family and whatnot, because I mean her brother is not that old at this point, so her
Hmm.
twin brother. So yeah, and yeah,
Yeah, good to hear that there's progress.
yeah, definitely. So shall we go on to
Okay.
your case?
Yes. So in today's episode, since it's our Christmas episode, it will be a little bit more lighthearted than usual. At least there's no murder in this story, but there's still plenty of crime included. Today, I will tell you about the Hungarian self-proclaimed Queen of Thieves, Gisela Bodnár, most famously known by the name given to her in the 50s by the media, Repülős Gizi, meaning airplane Gizi or flying Gizi. Both of these names were used in the few news articles that I found about her in English. And Gizi, by the way, is the nickname for Gisela in Hungarian. It's like a shortened form. We quite often use these short forms to refer to people.
Mm. Yeah, Giselle is another, like, I mean, this like Giselle Bündchen, I think is her name, is like a model. So it sounds like the Hungarian version of that, right?
Yeah,
Giselle.
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So this nickname, Flying Gizi or Airplane Gizi, came from her MO, since allegedly she carried out burglaries using the then frequent domestic flights to fly from one city to another within Hungary. She wrote an autobiography in 2007 entitled Repülős Gizi, a tolvajok királynője, or Airplane Gizi, the Queen of Thieves. That's why I said it's a self-proclaimed term.
As, almost as good as the Don Juan of
Yeah, exactly. I was immediately thinking about that too.
Maybe we should have like
So I
eventually like a poll. Which one would you choose? The flying blank or the Don Juan of blank,
mhm,
or
mhm.
just collect
Yeah,
these.
seems like a theme in our stories.
Mm.
So I tried to find her book. Unfortunately, I couldn't. There's no ebook. I think it was in some interviews. In some interview, she says it was banned, or I don't know. It was not really like ever like so easily available, I guess.
Mm.
But some of the sources that I use refer to the contents of the book, and also they included some quotes that some of them I try to translate for you today. So Gisella, or Gizi, was born on October 18, 1926 in Miskolc, which is a city in northeastern Hungary. She was the fourth of 6 children. Her father was a railroad engineer and her mother was a homemaker. In her adult life, she became known for her burglaries, but already when she was a child, she started stealing smaller things. In her autobiography, she claims that she became a kleptomaniac as a result of lingering complications from meningitis during her childhood. I will add here that I didn't find any signs of or any research stating that there could be a connection between these two things. She also tells in her book that during her hospital treatment, she met Albert Szentgyörgyi, who, according to her, told her that she would either become a genius artist or a notorious criminal. Do you know who Albert?
I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Sorry,
Do
that's
you
great.
know
Yeah.
who Albert Szentgyörgyi is, by the way? Okay, yeah. I mean,
No.
he is like
No.
kind of well known, but like not maybe that commonly. He was actually a Hungarian doctor and biochemist who received the Nobel Prize in Physiology in 1937 for discovering, well, yeah.
Of course he did.
Uh, so he received the Nobel Prize for discovering some of the components and reactions of the citric acid cycle, and he was also the first one to isolate vitamin C.
Wow.
So yeah, this is not really a super important detail about this story, but I thought it was interesting, and it's also something that cannot really be corroborated by anyone. But so she just kind of mentions it in her book, but it certainly sounds good that she was told this by Saint Georgi. So she also mentions in her book that as a child, her father regularly beat her for her minor thefts, such as stealing items from her classmates. She later obtained a degree in literature and history from the teacher training college in Kassa, a city in current-day Slovakia called Košice. Although he then never ended up working in a school, or she never actually taught in a school. One of the sources also mentioned that while she was studying there in Kosha in 1941, that was when the city was bombed, and it was also the event that triggered Hungary's entry to the Second World War. And apparently, or potentially, the stress of this event also set her on a binge of thievery. I don't know. I think this was only mentioned in one of the sources, and this is kind of the time. I'm not sure about the timeline, because in 41 she was only 15 years old. So was this school then kind of like a high school? So I don't really know how it worked, because she seems to be a little bit young for teacher training. Or maybe she already went to school there before. Anyway, I don't know, but this was mentioned in one place. She got married quite early. Her sister introduced her to her future husband, and she also says that she wasn't in love with him. They still stayed together for 15 years. They had 3 children, and then after 15 years, they got divorced. So this is more or less what is known about her personal life. And now we'll go on to her career as a criminal, unless you have some questions about this.
Not really. I mean, the stealing in childhood sounds a bit normal for kleptomaniacs, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's also like not, yeah, and it's not very detailed. Like there's not so much that we know about her, like family, or at least that I found about her family or personal life. But yeah, so Gizi started getting well known to the public in the early 1950s, and apparently by the late 1950s, she was listed in the Ministry of Interior's records as an especially dangerous criminal. At
Wow.
the time, Moliv, which was the international airline company in Hungary, used to have domestic flights between cities within the country. And the legend is that she often flew from Budapest to bigger cities like Miskolc, Debrecen, Szeged, Pécs, Szombathely. You know at least Szeged out of these. And so she flew into these cities, she broke into houses there, and then afterwards she immediately flew back to the capital with the evening flight. And part of her MO was to go to the neighbor in the morning in her home city, Budapest, to borrow some condiments for cooking, which she would then return in the evening. And that way she created an alibi for 2 separate parts of the day in a different town from where the crime happened.
Wow,
Smart.
that's
Hmm.
that's a cool idea. Yeah, smart.
So I actually said this was a legend because she herself always consistently denied ever flying a plane in several interviews that she gave to the media, mostly in the 2000s, early 2000s. She said this whole thing was completely made up and only based on the fact that one time the police found a plane ticket in her pocket, which actually belonged to her husband, who traveled to Szeged for a funeral, but it did not belong to her. I don't know. I'm not sure who to believe.
Sounds like a bunch of conjecture.
I love these old airplane stories, like where you have no
Exactly.
control, no register
Exactly,
who
yeah.
has boarded
It's
the
just so funny
plane.
to think about this because
Yeah.
Hungary is such a small country, so it's like, why would you have domestic flights? But yeah, I don't know. It sounds a bit suspicious because she also said things like open doors attracted her. But in reality, numerous pass keys or skeleton keys were found on her. Do you know what these are?
Yes. Skeleton key is basically like a key that can open any lock within, usually they're in buildings or something, like a master key. But yeah,
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
used in any lock, yeah. And it's a good movie.
Oh, I don't know the movie. But anyway, clearly she did try to open some closed doors as well, not only open doors. According to a news article that was published on March 27, 1971 in Népszava, which is one of the national newspapers in Hungary, when she was caught after a break-in using a skeleton key, she also admitted to 32 more similar incidents.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah. So during her life, she was fined many times for petty thefts around the country and served time in prison between the 50s and the 70s. One article released in 71 mentioned that she already spent time in prison back in 1943. And when she was not in prison, she allegedly also lived abroad and committed thefts in different countries. At one point, she declared that in 1956, during the Hungarian uprising against the government and its subordination to the USSR, she defected to France, and in Paris, she became a well-known Hungarian folk singer.
Singer.
which is also something I could not
But I
really
mean, it makes
confirm.
sense because what the guy had said whether
The
yeah,
previous artist
artist.
and
Yeah,
notorious
exactly.
criminal.
So maybe it is legit. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it looks like she was an educated person and pretty smart
So maybe
too.
she tried, like, okay, if I don't want to be a thief after all, maybe I should be a singer.
Mm. And then I can steal
Yeah,
people's hearts instead.
yeah. But some sources say that she also committed many break-ins abroad in Amsterdam, London, Paris, and also served some time in prison abroad. But all of the details of this, her foreign adventures, are a little bit hazy as well. But a lot of things about the story are.
But that's interesting though, because like, isn't kleptomania? It's not supposed to be pre-planned. It's kind of supposed to be a sporadic kind of
Mm.
well impulse because it's an
Yeah,
impulse
yeah.
disorder.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
did she actually plan these? That's the question. Like I don't know. Yeah, having a master key, is that already for planning? Because I know I'm gonna do it later, eventually. You know.
I don't know if the planning part is like a
Mm,
criteria among the
okay.
criteria.
Maybe it's a bit like alcoholism. You know that you want to drink
Mhm.
eventually, so you buy bottles of alcohol to your home
True.
pre-handed.
Yeah. True. True.
Okay, so up until this point, it was her flying period until the 70s. And then these domestic flights stopped in 1969. So she could, well, we are not sure if she actually used these because she says she didn't, but at least after that, she definitely couldn't do that. But some other new possibilities opened up for her in the 90s as she was already over 65 years old, since train travel became free for her, since it's free for pensioners in Hungary even
Oh.
today. So you can travel by train for free. So she began to travel the country again by train after she was over 65 years old. Okay, so some of the other crimes in this period, there's many of them, but I brought like a few snippets of some cases. So sources say that she was a very clever master of disguise. During her capture in 2006, she was captured many times, so this was just one of them. When she was 80 years old, 2 wigs were found in her hotel room and also some stolen jewelry hidden in balls of yarn. The police report of this arrest um, states this. The suspect appeared to be knitting in her free time. We found 5 balls of yarn and knitting needles in her room. When we started to unravel them, the lady angrily stated that we would have to pay for all of that. However, when a handful of jewelry emerged from them, she just shrugged and added, "Who dares wins."
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah.
Sounds okay.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So a lot of the articles mentioned that she always had some sort of explanation um, for why she was in certain places if she was caught, and if she felt like there's not enough evidence against her, she just kept denying whatever she allegedly did. But then when there was already some clear evidence, then she was always like, oh well, okay,
Mm,
yes, I did it, but I
yeah.
tried.
Like,
Does she like?
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on. Yeah.
I just mean that at this point, I would assume that she's always suspicious for the police. Like, if they notice who she is, it's like, okay, don't try to bullshit us. We know this is what you do.
Yeah, I mean, by the time she was 80, she already had a very long career of burglaries.
Her keeping the jewelry and whatnot, is that also a sign that it's not purely kleptomania? Because I thought like most cases, like for I don't know the percentage or something, but
Mhm.
um, since it's kind of an impulse thing that the people don't really need the items, for instance, and so they'll usually just
Mm. I'll
yeah.
get back to this part. The in the kleptomania
Okay. Yeah.
section. So I will tell you what her
Okay.
own
Yeah.
comments were related to this. She was arrested again, for example, in 2009 and 11 when she was 83 and 85 years old for charges of theft. One time, but imagine like
And that's
85.
like if you see an 85-year-old granny, you wouldn't suspect them stealing anything. Oh,
Yeah, if
Yeah.
anything, I would be like, "Hey, can you watch my bag for me while I go to the bathroom?"
exactly.
And then she'd be stealing everything.
Well, I mean, that's why she was so, well, successful probably a lot
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
times, that people didn't
Yeah.
assume that she was about to do
Yeah.
any harm.
Wow. This will make me think, like, take a second look at older people now, like when I'm out and about.
Mhm.
I wonder what kind of crimes they do.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
still
I know.
people.
It's just-
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like this kind of funny thing that people automatically assume since you're old, you're incapable of doing anything bad. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
One time she was apprehended by police at a train station in the town of Bicske, which is 35 kilometers west of Budapest. The officers found her in possession of 15,000 forints, which is worth less than 40 euros now. Maybe it was around 50 euros then, a little bit more. So not much. She was suspected of taking the money from a wallet sitting on the living room table of a home that she broke into. In the first half of 2015, when she was already 89 years old, Gizi was caught robbing a residence in eastern Austria 2 weeks after disappearing from a nursing home.
This is, I don't know if we should laugh at it, but it's just kind of
yeah, I just
fun.
That's that was my
Yeah.
problem this whole time when I was doing the research for this story, because like it's
Yeah.
funny in a way, but of course in a lot of other ways, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yeah.
not
I mean,
funny, but yeah, it's just
this is like an
absurd.
addiction. Like she just has to do
mm,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Later the same year, she was caught hiding inside a closet in someone's home in the eastern Hungarian town of Hajdú-Szoboszló, and she claimed that she was only taking shelter from a rainstorm
mhm.
because she always had an explanation why she was in someone's
Yeah.
closet
Mm.
inside their home.
Yeah.
So the last crime that she was caught for was in 2017 when she walked into someone's property in the city of Tatabánya. When the homeowner noticed her, she said she was looking for a theater worker who used to live in the same house, but it sounded very suspicious. So they ended up reporting her to the police after she left. And apparently, she was kind of encouraged to leave by the homeowner's Vizsla, which is a dog breed.
Mm.
So yeah, that was apparently the last known crime that she committed. Overall, she was put on trial over 20 times during her life. She ended up serving close to 17 years in prison, and altogether she was sentenced for about 40 years. So she served about 17 of those 40. Sometimes she couldn't remember which crimes she was her current trial about because there were
Yeah.
so many, like
Wow.
hundreds. So here's a quote from her book. She says, "I've seen and heard countless intricate things that others don't notice, or if they do, they can't fully comprehend what it means, what its weight is. I've had the time to reflect on the troubles and wonders of the world, and for over 25 years, I've been planning to write a book about theft, captivity, and how a woman like me could wander through Europe."
Yeah, that sounds like a good book.
Yeah. I mean, she makes it sound
Mm,
more romantic
Mm.
than it is,
Yeah.
I would say.
yeah,
Mm.
in
Yeah.
some parts at
Yeah.
least. But yeah, so I also wanted to like more specifically talk about her kleptomania because that's kind of the big question. Like, why was she doing this like her whole life, all the time? And during one of her trials in 2016, she said that she loves shiny things, but she's kind of attracted to like anything shiny, and she doesn't usually sell the stolen items. Often she just gives them away to someone. So based on this, and also like the kind of amount of money that was often found on her, like this 15,000 forints or like 40 euros. Another time I remember in one article they said they found like 3,500 forints on her, which is like less than 10 euros. So very small amount that she stole from someone. So it seems that kind of material wealth or like personal gain wasn't her main goal with these stealings. In 2016, so by the time of this trial, she had no assets, no real estate or car, and she lived apparently solely on her pension of 37,500 forints, which is less than 100 euros
Wow.
today.
Per
So very
month.
little, like very low pension.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm pretty sure she did spend some of that money that she stole. Like probably like not, it was not a huge amount, but clearly you can see that she was not like a rich person.
Yeah, I would assume that maybe if she has stolen something about 50 euros, maybe she brought food with it sometimes. Those, like just use the cash
Yeah.
for whatever she needed at the moment.
Yeah, probably. But yeah. And it's not like she wasn't a good enough burglar because she could get into a lot of places, and most of the time she wasn't even noticed, probably. But yeah, that was not the main point. So basically, she committed theft because she felt an uncontrollable urge to do so, and she could not help herself. And she was indeed diagnosed with kleptomania, but only quite late in her life when she was already 76 years old. So I looked a little bit into kleptomania, and I just kind of brought a few details here from an article by Kim et al. 2017, which says kleptomania is a rare disorder that occurs in 0.3 to 0.6% of the population and is defined as the recurrent failure to resist impulses to steal items, even though the items are not needed for personal use or for their monetary value. This is the definition from the American Psychological Association. Kleptomania is currently classified in the disruptive impulse control and conduct disorders section of the DSM-5. And the hallmark characteristic of disorders in this class is failure in controlling behaviors and emotions that violate the rights of others. However, apparently it has recently been argued that kleptomania might be better classified as an addictive disorder. But I think there's still some discussion
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. That's pretty much
Yeah,
also what I found. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But did you find any other like interesting statistics related to certain countries?
Well, I searched Germany, of course, first, and it was basically that, yeah, also saying 0.6% of the population approximately, and mostly women, I guess. So it was 3-to-1 ratio of women approximately in Germany, at least. And yeah, so basically there was incidents of 0.3 to 0.6% compared to shoplifting, which is around 4 to 24%. So of that, it's like smaller proportion, obviously. And what else? Yeah, and then in the States, it was also basically the same ratio. So, I mean, which makes sense. So maybe it's a more reaching ratio around the world than country specific, maybe, which is interesting in itself. And yeah, and then another thing that I found as well, because when I was reading the German article, it grouped kleptomania and pyromania actually together. Like,
We are coming
oh
back to
fuck,
fire.
okay, then I will not say something. No,
No, do say
okay.
it.
So basically,
Oh no, I didn't mean like in this episode, but just in general, because
oh
there's so
me,
many like
oh okay,
fire
okay, yeah,
talk.
yeah. I'm like, of course I
Yes.
had to go back to fire. I'm not a pyromaniac. I
Yes.
swear, I am not.
walk with me.
But basic yes,
Twin
yeah.
Peaks. Okay.
Uh, yeah, the ratio, of course, with pyromania is like, opposite. There's an 8-to-1 ratio. And it's also kind of this, there's an explained feeling of anxiety and this kind of like pressure buildup before the act, which is quite similar in both of those things, pyromania
Mhm.
and kleptomania. And then, of course, with the pyromania, it's not really that you're wanting to cause harm per se. It's just that harm might happen as well, like in the, you
Mhm.
know, yeah, just you can't really control it. You just want to light the fire, feels better after you've done it, and then yeah, afterwards it's kind of like not a problem of yours, you know, not like to say that people are, you know, psychopaths for doing that. It's just that, you know, they only wanted to start the fire in that
Yeah.
instant. So, and then the same thing with kleptomania. It's
Yeah.
kind of this build up and then the release is right after they commit the offense, and it's not like they need any monetary gain or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
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 And I'd say both need some kind of prep. Like, okay, you can have this kleptomania where you just randomly go to the supermarket and be like, oh, I'll take it, run, or whatever. But her acts sound a bit more planned, like
Mm.
burglaries and stuff. And I would argue that pyromania also requires, you know, I don't know, get gasoline or something where you start the fire to begin with.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Or, I
I
mean, it could
also
just,
feel that they're more
yeah.
like addictions in that
Yes,
sense.
I think so too. Like, I think they're both addictions, but then at the same time, I think that there can be, because also there's, you know, other things have to be ruled out, like other diagnoses before you can kind of be like, you know, a kleptomaniac or a pyromaniac. But then there's also quite like there's a comorbidity between like depression and anxiety disorders anyway. So
Mhm.
I think with that, it's just a way to kind of, you know, act out in that regard, release the
Release
anxiety,
anxiety.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
so I think
Mhm.
that, yeah, for planning, maybe for some fires, but I mean, there might be something like you might have some matches and you're just lighting shit on fire and then it gets out
Mhm.
of control or something. Who
Mhm.
knows? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
matchbooks are nice to light on fire, for instance, and that could be that.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then kleptomania, of course, yeah, if you're not going to use the item, I would say then that's more of a kleptomaniac thing than if you have no use for it and then you still don't use it after the shoplifting or something, then I think that would be more of like a pure case of kleptomania, and that is indeed like more of an
Mhm.
addiction. And yeah, but
Yeah. I don't know if she used like really like any of the items, 'cause she did claim that well, I think she was like maybe kind of downplaying it a little bit also in her trials.
yeah.
Of course, we don't really know. But I have another quote from her that kind of gives a little sneak peek into how she describes her kleptomania. So here's what she says in her book. I'm a victim of a sick inclination, an insatiable kleptomaniac, and before the word and the law, a dishonorable person. Yet, honest and healthy people turned me into a star, because she was pretty, like, famous or infamous. They know me as Airplane Gizi. That became my nickname, burned into me like some kind of stigma. I've gotten used to it. I sneaked into houses as if I didn't exist, barely even taking a breath. Only one thing interested me: to outsmart people. It tempted, excited me, and then I became obsessed with the desire to see if I could do it. The greater the absurdity, the better. I always went out through the main gate, the entrance door, marched out like a victorious general.
Hmm.
She has some poetic
Yeah.
skills, I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Agreed. She should have been a star.
So, right? Yeah. So she did give many interviews to the media. Actually, I mentioned this earlier, and she always explained her crimes that basically she just really like cannot help herself. So this is like something that she always like emphasized.
But yeah,
But yeah,
she just doesn't like this far. What you told, she doesn't show much remorse. Like it sounds like okay, I can't do anything, but like it's still cool, isn't it? Type of
Mm.
attitude.
yeah, it sounds a little bit like that. It also sounds like she was, because she was quite distant from her family. Like she didn't really, or the family didn't really keep in touch with her. And I don't know. I'm sure she was not happy. It doesn't sound like her life was very happy. Yeah, but it's true that from these quotes and just the fact that she liked giving interviews, or she
Mm.
often did at least, yeah, it seemed like in a way like to be, I don't know, in the center of attention, maybe. I don't know. That's just kind of what I
Yeah.
got.
Interesting. Psychology, though. Yeah. I'm not a psychologist. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but still. And of course, I'm not an expert in kleptomania either. But in the Hungarian media, repülős Gizi or airplane Gizi, like the character was always surrounded by this kind of romantic aura. And many people consider this as like a funny, cute grandma story, like kind of just committing like harmless crimes. And there's even, I found like there's an airplane Gizi fan club on Facebook, or probably even more than one. But it was never really discussed that her like hundreds of break-ins and thefts could have maybe been prevented if she got some sort of help for her,
Yeah.
for this
I mean, also
disorder.
with also with the break-ins and stuff, I'm just thinking about the psychological effect that this had on the people that she broke,
Yeah.
into their houses, like the invasion
Exactly.
of privacy,
Mhm.
the feeling that you're never going to be safe, like how much harm has she done psychologically and also financially? Because you know, 1,300 forints isn't that much to one person, but that's quite a lot to another person. Or, there's an immeasurable amount of damage that she probably dealt. But then by everybody
Yeah.
thinking, okay, she's a sweet old lady, once again, it goes to back to the fact of, society thinking that old ladies are harmless and I don't know, they can't be anything but nice. But like you said, they're people too.
Yeah. I mean, she also did crimes when she was
Yeah.
younger. Um, but it was never like I said, there's no
Mm.
murder or anything like that in this story. It was never like so major, but it was a lot of these kind of smaller crimes, but so many of them. It's kind of crazy to even think about. And she went on for so long. Like she was still like, yeah, but go ahead.
I was also thinking that just it sounds a bit kind of like this Robin Hood effect or something, like there's this person possibly sticking it to the man and then they're like good for them, everybody's thinking, because well, it's not me, and I'm not personally affected by this and whatnot. So I think it's also a bit of this case too, where most people like just romanticize it, but if they were the ones that were
Yeah.
stolen from, suddenly it would be a more major thing. But I think this is quite common too. If no one dies, no one gets bodily
Yeah.
harmed, then it's all good, fun and games, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like she was like a celebrity or anything, or everyone
Mm.
loved her or anything like that. Like, of course, people like reported her when these crimes happened, and it wasn't like, I don't know, like it's not like necessarily everyone would notice her or recognize her on the street. Not like that level of
Mm.
famousness, but uh, but still there was this, like, I always felt like there's this aspect of this story that, oh, it's kind of so funny and
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
But I read that there's like basically how they try to treat kleptomania is like a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy and some like medications as well. So that might have helped. But I mean, she was born like in
Yeah.
1926. So in her early life, those things were not really,
Yeah.
that
Like,
common. So she never, but even later, she never really got any
and it
treatment.
just sounds like that the criminal or like the prison system here, of course, back in the days is the case here, but how we would ideally see it, as at least in the Nordic countries, that it's more rehabilitation oriented, which would then include that you get treatment for the reason that you are committing the crimes. But here it sounds like, okay, you did this
Yeah.
crime, and by the law, this is the punishment you get from it. Okay, you serve, for example, 4 years this time. Then she's free and does the exactly same crime again.
Yeah.
And then again, 4 years, 5 years, like
Yeah.
very meaningless
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
imprisonment to me.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know the details, of course. Like, I don't know what happened during her prison
Yeah.
sentences or what the time she spent in prison, but it does sound like
Yeah.
that to me as well. By the way, I sent you a picture of her in our WhatsApp group if you want to see how she looked like when she was already old.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty,
she looks. Oh, damn.
yeah,
Yeah,
harmless old lady.
generic old lady.
Wouldn't pay attention if I
Yes,
saw her in the
yes.
street. Like, okay,
Nope.
Yeah,
Wow.
elderly
exactly.
woman going to her groceries.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's only a little bit left of the story. She spent the last weeks of her life in a hospital in Budapest. And by that time, she had long lost contact with her family members and children. And then on February 6th, 2019, she passed away in solitude, or at least that's what every article says. I have another quote from her book, which came out in 2007, but she kind of reflects on her life. And I thought it was kind of fitting. She says, I've been fleeing from airplane Gizi until I finally became her. Many life adventures, 3 children, 2 husbands, 1 love. A total of just under 20 years spent in captivity. That's my balance. The inventory is complete. Here I am, the old thief. And I have nothing else but my infamy. I became a legend, and one can only die in that much.
Very poetic again.
Yeah,
Right?
she really is. Like,
Yeah.
damn. She's she's a wordsmith for sure.
Yeah. And this made it sound like, I mean,
Yeah.
how the public sees her is only the theft, but it sounds like for her life she had other things too. Like it wasn't just
Yeah.
burglaries from morning to evening, but relationship,
Yeah.
children
She
stuff.
she always brings it up. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like adventures and visiting other countries and things like that.
So maybe there were like some longer phases when she was a singer in Paris. Maybe she didn't commit that much crime then. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't know. But it came up in several articles, but it feels like they were just kind of referring to each other. And I think it's something that was mentioned in her book as well. So I don't really know if we could ever find out if that's true. And also a lot of the other things that she was stating or denying, like what is true, a lot of the things related to her life and crimes are kind of mysterious. But yeah, so that was the story of Gisela Bodnár, the Hungarian Queen of Thieves.
Sounds
That
like
was a
this could
nice.
work as a movie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of a genre to
Mm,
somehow this resembles because of the airplanes. This made me think of the movie Catch Me If You Can, you know.
Yeah.
But there,
yeah,
yeah,
yes,
he's
yes.
playing a airplane captain or something. But anyway,
Mm.
like when you make entertainment out of these, then they become usually even more romanticized.
Yeah, that's true. But I was wondering if did you find any stories in some other countries that are related to kleptomania in some
Not
way?
really, because I think a lot of the cases were like, yeah, they're seen as kind of the psychiatric disorders or something, so it's kind of confidential, maybe, possibly. So it's more of a, yeah, unless it's one of these cases where it's a bit older and yeah, maybe. But I mean, there's lots of burglary cases and stuff, and also, but yeah, not really kleptomania cases in the US or Germany that I could find. There were
Hmm.
some cases that I found, like just first person account of, like, in a news article, like, it started with me stealing cheese and I didn't need the cheese. And then it started, building up from there. But yeah,
Hmm.
nothing like this, I would say, that I found at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of similar cases all around the world, but maybe this one it just got so famous because it's just so absurd that she continued doing it until she was 92.
One
Yeah.
thing that resembled a bit, it's not, I don't think it's kleptomania per se, but in Finland, I think there's actually at least 2 people who are in the media, but one of them is this, I think the name was something like sarjasyömäri, like serial eater, and it's a guy who goes to a restaurant, eats, and leaves the restaurant without paying.
Yeah.
And
Dining and dashing. Yeah.
yeah, and like
Uh-huh.
he's in the news, I don't know, at least once a year, and then he gets some
Hmm.
punishments and he does it again, and like yeah, he just continues doing it
Yeah.
anytime he's free.
It's
Yeah,
one of those things again that's like not so
Mm.
serious, right? Like I mean, of
yeah.
course it is, but it's not
But
so
for the
harmful.
business, it's really like, because of course he takes usually some like alcohol, wine, and maybe dessert, and
Hmm.
goes all the way through,
Yeah.
because he's not going to pay for it. And for restaurant, they usually have pretty tight budget anyway. It's not
Yeah.
nice, and restaurants
Mm.
can be owned by kind of individuals, not like big
Hmm.
companies. So I would say it's pretty harmful in the end. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
nobody's dying. Yeah,
But still, I could imagine that it's yeah, like I could imagine that maybe the police is not necessarily taking it so seriously. But of course, it helps that there's this like media attention that it comes up all the time, and this is kind of a known
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
I'm sure. But just like in general with these kind of cases, they're like, okay, well,
yeah.
no one died.
And I mean, I understood that he's not like dashing. Like he stays there. He's just like, I'm not gonna pay. And then the police comes and it's like, okay, we're
Oh,
going to arrest you or something. Like,
huh.
Okay, so he
yeah,
doesn't
Wow.
flee.
That's even
at least
more
the
of like
other
a
guy. Yeah,
wow. That's even more of a special case because I feel like then it almost speaks to someone who wants to be punished immediately, you know? Like this kind of attention seeking kind of behavior versus,
yeah,
like kids, when they act out and they do something to get the attention of their parents,
yeah,
like in a
yeah.
bad
I
way.
know very
So
well.
it's kind of yeah. It's kind of like that in this regard versus dining and dashing. It's like you hope you get the thrill out of getting away with it, like
Yeah.
fleeing and whatever. But this guy, interesting. Yeah, that's just yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
But this was the closest I could like find something similar. All the
Yeah.
kleptomania things were more like people being interviewed, like with a
Yeah,
false
exactly.
name, and they're like, I don't know, I have a good job and family, but I just have to do it type of articles, not really
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
criminal
Yeah.
cases type of storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
same within Germany and yeah. But there was one case,
Yeah.
wasn't there, like Winona Ryder or something?
Oh
Didn't
yeah, yeah,
she
yeah. I
get
wanted to mention her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, like
that's
that.
when you say kleptomania, I'm like, Winona Ryder. She was really big in the news,
Yeah.
I don't know, 20 years ago about the kleptomania. That's maybe
True.
Yeah.
when she got caught or
I
interviewed
remember
about it
this
or
too.
something.
Yeah, because I mean that's a perfect case. Like she had enough money, she didn't need the
Hmm.
item. It was like such a small item anyway. That would be like the textbook case of, kleptomania
Yeah.
where you don't need the item, you're getting the thrill out of, or the release of of anxiety after the fact and yeah, so
Yeah. But she's quite open about it,
I
isn't
think
she?
so. Like or maybe she's had to be
Yeah.
because everybody brings it up and kind of it's synonymous with her name. That and Stranger Things
Hmm.
and Beetlejuice and what else?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's great.
Yeah.
I like her. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else to add, or should we wrap up the
Yeah, we
episode?
can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So, thanks for listening, everybody. And I always do the sign off, so I just kind of take over. So, sorry if you wanted to do
Do
it.
it. Do it.
So you can get into contact with us at our Gmail at translationmurderpodcast@gmail.com. And you can send us any feedback, be it criticism, just make it constructive. You can send us suggestions for cases, what have you. But what should they not send us, Petra?
Dick pics. And
Yeah.
scams. We don't want scam
Oh,
emails
yeah.
like we
Oh,
got
yeah.
last week. So please
Yeah,
don't.
true.
We already
Yeah, I
got
think
Dick pics
we've
some.
and
gotten 2
scams. We
now.
Don't
don't
do
want
it.
those.
Yeah. Yeah, no scams, yeah. I think
Wow.
because I put
You're
one in
smart.
the bin already, and then the other one I just opened. I was like, "Nah, fuck it, whatever." So, yeah, no scams, no dick pics, thank you. Um, you can rate this podcast on Spotify, and I think you can do it anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can also comment, I don't know, leave something. There's some people, one person in general who is commenting on our podcast quite often, and I
We
find it
love you.
enjoyable. Yeah. Sorry. And then you can also follow us on Instagram at Translation Murder Podcast. And yeah, just follow us, like the stuff, suggest things, send us a message there, whatever. I don't know. Just get into contact. We're pretty nice. We're
Yeah.
chill. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I do want to emphasize that really go to our Instagram because every week we post some visual material related to the episode, so some pictures that are interesting. So go there to check the photos.
Yeah.
And the
All
hint
right.
for the next episode is also found
Mm.
in
Yes,
Instagram.
yes, that's true. So the next episode is going to be, is it coming out on New Year's Eve?
I believe so.
Hmm. Possibly. Yeah.
Or around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. I think so. So do we have a hint related to that,
Yeah.
Petra?
Well, I can tell it's in Japan again. And it's, I don't know, I don't want to give too easy hint, as if it's not very famous in the English speaking world, I would say.
I'm excited. Is it the Curry murders?
No. I mean, if you
I'm
really want, I can do the curry murders at some point. It's very
Yes, please
famous,
do.
but maybe not
Yeah.
famous enough, like outside
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
But next time will not be the curry murders, but a murder of a doctor. Yes,
Wow. Okay.
that doesn't give too
Cool.
much,
Yeah. Yeah.
unless you start
Perfect for New Year's Eve.
searching for it or something.
Yeah. I'll ask some of our coworkers. What is doctor in Japanese and all the different characters that I could possibly search for? No, I won't. I won't go that detailed. But yeah.
And I'm
Okay,
sure
cool.
that they are not the only doctor in Japan that has ever been murdered.
Really? Oh god. Okay. Are you gonna have some statistics like 1 in 10 doctors are murdered in Japan, or I don't like
Every year.
what?
Probably not. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I can't wait for that. And yeah. So yeah.
Yes,
Thanks for listening,
exciting.
everyone. Thanks for sharing the story, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Mhm.
listening to it.
Okay.
We'll
Yep.
see you
Hei
next week.
paralla.
Moi.
Bye.